Hello, my name is Mike Ignatoski, the creator of the BlueLynx hockey spreadsheet, the spreadsheet that uses Excel programming to help you conveniently manage your tabletop hockey league project, including the standings, the schedule, but most of all, the player and team stats for your entire league. BlueLynx was created to help you get more enjoyment out of your tabletop hockey projects by giving you more time to play the games and look over the stats instead of painstakingly calculating them and entering them into a spreadsheet.
In this video, I'm going to cover the several new features and enhancements that are in BlueLynx version 2.0. Let's see what they are. So the plus minus feature, how does it work? So we've got a goal. Let's add a goal here for the Bruins. Before I assign anything, here's the plus minus button. And if you click it before assigning the goal, it won't launch. You need to assign the goal first. And ideally, if you only assign one assist or no assist, it'll ask you to confirm if that's really what you want. So let's say or scores from Busick and Hodge. Now I launched the plus minus. You can see it checks those guys. So I'll just check the other two, and I'll check my defense. Okay, save. So now I saved my goal, but I forgot I needed to update my stat columns here to show the new plus minus. So what I'm going to do is go to my config sheet, and here are the plus minus columns or stats. There's three of them. There's the net plus minus, then the total plus, and total minus. So for this demonstration, I'm going to turn them all three on and then update my score sheet. The plus minus works in basic or advanced stats. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now you can see here it add those three columns, the plus minus for each of the teams. So you can see that's how it worked. That's good. And if you really want to see those players, in your score log, you can click this button here where it says show hide plus minus, and it unhides these two very wide columns of the plus players and the minus players. So it's good to confirm, but obviously most people won't have these columns visible most of the time. The plus minus does work in conjunction with the edit goal. If I click this and say, do I need to edit the goal and make a change? Yes. If I need to change the plus minus, that really Gary Peters wasn't on the ice, it was Bob Kelly. I can save and save, and then if I look at this, I can see here now that it shows Bob Kelly right here. So that is the plus minus. Just like when you edit a goal, it doesn't automatically update the plus minus here when you do the edit. So if you use the compute in-game stats, where was that minus that we'll see that Kelly should have this minus when we're done here. You can see here when I click the recompute the in-game stats, now Bob Kelly has the -1 like he should. So that is the plus minus feature. The next feature is the editing the event log. So over here, so now I set this game into advanced stats mode so that the event log is available along with these event logger windows. And let's have Esposito take a shot here and record this as kind of a save for Doug Favell. But for some reason I forgot to change the period, let's say. So I'm going to go over here and switch to period 2. But now I want to switch this. This shot wasn't in the first period, and maybe Esposito didn't take it. Maybe it was really Derek Sanderson. So if I click anywhere along this row, it'll ask me if I want to edit the event, and I'll say yes. So here's the event. I'm going to say really it was Derek Sanderson who took this shot and it was in the second period. So we'll see that it marks us in the second period with Derek Sanderson. So that's the edit log. You can also delete something. Before you could only delete a whole row and then re-add it. But let's remove this hit by Larry Hale. So if I click on this one and say edit yes, I can click this delete. It'll confirm with me. Oh, I shouldn't say that penalty. But do I want to delete this? Yes. You see then it deleted it and moved all the other ones up. So that's the edit event log. The next feature I want to show is the extended overtime. In prior version, you can only have one overtime period. Now with version 2.0, you can have up to 6 overtimes. Hopefully, most people won't need that many, but it allows that. So let me just jump this game ahead here. Now I've finished my third. I'm going to go to the overtime. Do I want to go into overtime? Yes. So now let's pretend, because I should have a tie game, but I'm not going to worry about it for this demonstration. Now if I go into the second overtime, what I need to do is click this overtime thing up here again. But since it's already selected, it won't do anything. So I need to kind of select somewhere off here in the unimportant areas of the score sheet, and then click on this OT again, and it'll say, do you want to activate OT period 2? Yes. And then it'll unhide this second overtime column, and you just can keep doing the same thing. You can add, a penalty if you need to. You see here it'll put period OT2. So similarly, you can just keep going up to period OT6. And so I'll just go one more here. And what I want to show here is that when you score a goal here, or even do a penalty, I didn't really show it here, but let's add a penalty. You see here how it shows this OT period with the 5, or if you wanted to change it, you could switch it here. But this is where it sets the OT, which OT is it. But it automatically defaults when you launch a penalty or a goal to whatever the active period is, just like when it's in periods 1, 2, or 3. So that's the OT. So I'm going to go back here and kind of add a goal for the Flyers in period 3, just to kind of make it legit. And I won't worry about the plus minus right now. Okay, so now we have a tie game. We go into the 5th overtime. And let's pretend that the Flyers scored the 5th overtime to win this game. I don't need to click that. So I'm already on OT5. So now if I click goal, it says OT5 at 16:32, even strength. Andre LaCroix scores. From these guys. So I'll skip the plus minus here for expediency. Save. So it shows here the period is OT5. And now my game's done. So now I'll click the compute end of game stats, which is going to be pretty minimal here. I'm going to say yes for right now for that, because I was doing some individual shots. I'm going to skip that for now. No 3 stars of the game found. We'll go over that in a second. But what I want to show for this overtime thing is this goalie time on ice. So if we look at this, and figure this out, this is how many minutes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 7 full periods. That's 140 minutes plus this 1632 when the game ended. So if we want to enter that for this goalie here, time on ice, that's where this little box down here comes in. So what did I say? We have 140 plus 1632, so it's 156.32. So if I click one, so I have 140 plus 10 is 156.32. So when you have these overtimes, you may have to use these extra minutes to get your minutes to work, because once you get to 80, they jump by 30 minutes at a time. So you have to use these other little radio buttons to get your times to work out. So that should give us the 156.32. And just to kind of confirm, we'll do it again over here. So it's 156. So you find the biggest number here without going over 140. Then you go down here, 150. This would be 160. That's too many. So 150. Then up here, 632. So that's the other thing I wanted to show with these long games, is how to enter that time on ice um, for that. So that's extended overtime. The next feature we'll talk about is these 3 stars of the game. So that's this little box down here, and you just click, not here, not here, but you click on the star. Let's do it like they do at the game. So the number 3 star. Now, if it's a Bruin, I think it always starts with the home team. I'm not sure. But then if you want to switch to the other team, there's this button here. So if I want to go to the Flyers, I'd click that, and then it shows me the Flyers. So let's say my number 3 star is the Bruins goalie, Eddie Johnston. And then my number 2 star is, I'll give it to LaCroix for scoring the goal. So I go to the Flyers, LaCroix. And then my number 1 star, I'm going to give to the Flyers goalie. So I go switch to the Flyers like that. If you make a mistake, I think it doesn't edit with what you have. You just redo whatever you want. So if I said, if I accidentally picked the wrong goalie, I better fix that. It wasn't Perron. He didn't even play. So I can go in there and just, so there's really not an edit mode. You just change it to what you want. This clear will clear it out. So it'll blank, and if you want to redo it, you're welcome to. So that's the 3 stars. The other part of the 3 stars is when you assign them, you should assign them before you do the compute end of game stats. So when you do this, you'll see here this new stat column that has this little note called SP for star points. And star points are earned when you have the 3 stars of the game. And the number 1 star gets 30, the number 2 star gets 20, and the 3rd star gets 10 points. So you can see here, Doug Favela got 30, Andre LaCroix got 20, and over here, Eddie Johnston got 10 star points. So that's just how you can use that if you want to have a, see who's got the most star points over the several games. So that is the 3 stars of the game. And I think that's the end of that feature. Actually, it's not quite the end of the 3 stars. The last piece has to do with the stat column, the SP that you see here, where it shows the number of points. You can control whether you want to see that, like the other stat columns, on the config sheet at the end here, where it says SP for the star points, and you can turn that on or off whether you're using basic or advanced stats just like the other columns. So that is the end of the 3 stars feature. One more thing about the 3 stars that I forgot has to do with the game option. So if you go into the game options, there's a new option here, number 8, to say whether you want to require the 3 stars of the game. And by default, it'll be on with this version. I'm kind of assuming more people will want it than not. So by default, it's on. So what that means, if it's on, when you're trying to compute your end of game stats, it'll fail if they're not assigned. So I kind of set that up in this score sheet here with this 1-0 game. And if I now click this compute end of game stats, we'll write my goalie saves no. See, it says I'm missing at least one of the 3 stars of the game. Please correct it. So, and because of that, it didn't really compute the end of game stats. So once I do this, let's say I'm going to give it to their goalie, and then it'll work. So that's the other part of the 3 stars, is that game option to whether you want to require it for your games or not. So as part of the validation before it tries to save your game result. One more thing about the 3 stars that I forgot has to do with the game option. So if you go into the game options, there's a new option here, number 8, to say whether you want to require the 3 stars of the game. And by default, it'll be on with this version. I'm kind of assuming more people will want it than not. So by default, it's on. So what that means, if it's on, when you're trying to compute your end of game stats, it'll fail if they're not assigned. So I kind of set that up in this score sheet here with this 1-0 game. And if I now click this compute end of game stats, we'll write my goalie saves no. See, it says I'm missing at least one of the 3 stars of the game. Please correct it. So, and because of that, it didn't really compute the end of game stats. So once I do this, let's say I'm going to give it to their goalie, and then it'll work. So that's the other part of the 3 stars, is that game option to whether you want to require it for your games or not. So as part of the validation before it tries to save your game result. The last thing that version 2.0 has that I'm going to talk about is some better logic behind these 2 buttons up here that you need at the end of the game when you want to save your game and save your stats. The compute end of game stats button now does more than it did before, and it's trying to prevent you from, I'll say, clicking this one prematurely and having it save incomplete stats. So first of all, when you load your game, this will be gray, and if you click on it now, you'll get this error that says you have to compute the end of game stats first. So click that button first, which means that's the yellow one. But if I click it now, this has a little more smarts behind it. It's trying to really ensure that, 1, the game is over, and 2, all your stats are filled in properly. So one of the things it does is looks at the scoreboard, and if you're not at least to the 3rd period, it's going to fail. So like it did there, if I do it the 2nd period, it says you only reach the 2nd period. So if I get to the 3rd period and do it, now it passes the scoreboard test, but it's looking for other things, like this blank stats area. Before, this was a fail. It didn't like this, but now I made it a possibility, because it is possible to play a game. I think there has been in the NHL a game with no penalties and no score. So that's why I have this new message that says right here it says the home skater stats are empty essentially. Is this correct? It says possible but doubtful. So you can say whether you want to continue or fix that if it was a mistake. So if you say, is this correct, and say no, it'll stop. But if you want to say, oh, that is what happened, you click yes, and here it's going to do the same thing for the flyers. If I say yes, that's what happened, then it goes on and looks at the goalie stats, and here you can see that the goalie stats are empty, so it's telling you to fix them. And this is some of the logic that used to be behind this button, and now I've moved it over into this one. So let's quickly fix these up. Let's say this guy started and it was a 0-0 tie. Oops, what happened there? 60, start, tie. Let's try it again. Now it's looking at the saves. Do I want to correct that? And I do. So let me put those saves in. All right. One more time. I want to overwrite the goalie saves. Stats, save stats, no. So we'll check those skater stats. Now it's telling me I'm missing at least one of my 3 stars of the game. And this is because I'll say, okay, so it fails. So it still isn't enabling this button yet. And that's because in my game options, I require the 3 stars is on to help me make sure that I don't forget to assign them at the end of the game. So now I will assign them. I guess I should just assign these goalies since they're the shining stars of this game. And it does require all 3 stars. So if I just pick these 2 and do it, keep my saves, you'll see it'll tell me, hey, you're still missing one. And in the weird case that you do have a 0-0 tie, I think what you can do is with the 3 stars, it doesn't require that they be all different players. You could have the same player in 2 or all of them. I think Ovechkin got all 3 stars when he broke Gretzky's record. Is what I thought I heard. So what we could do here to make it kind of even for these goalies, because this is worth 30 points and 20 and 10. So what I can do is put Doug Favell to also get the 3rd star. It's kind of strange, but now if I compute the end of the game stats, let's see if it'll get through the whole process. So remember, watch this button here. It's gray now. Overwrite the goalie stats? No. Is this correct? Yes. And yes. And maybe should have a confirmation at the end here. It might be better, but now it turned this button purple, so it's enabled now. And you can see over here for Doug Favell and Gary Cheevers, their star points. Cheevers has 30 star points, and so does Favell, because it added up this 20 and this 10. So now if I wanted to save this game, it should let me save it. There's not a lot of stats going on here, but it is a possible outcome to have a 0-0 tie. Okay. Okay. A couple more things to say about this new and improved end of game stats validation logic in version 2.0. I just fixed a couple bugs, and now I have a new game that I loaded, but it's pretty much at the same state as the last one. I could have just saved these stats, but there's a couple more things I want to go over. One was once you successfully compute the end of game stats, it's possible that you want to change something. You realize that something's wrong. So I put some logic in there. So if once you reach this state, if you want to change something or even think about it, like clicking this goal thing, or maybe you need to change the assist, or maybe you look at this and realize that you had the goalie wrong or something. But if I were to edit this goal here, and this is watch the color of this button. This button should change from purple to gray as soon as I launch this form. You see how it changed to gray? It's possible I could cancel out of this and not make any changes, but I made the logic simple so that anytime you launch one of these forms where you could change the data, it'll disable this save game result button and make you regenerate these end of game stats just to make sure they're up to date and correct. So I'm going to cancel this. And that logic is the same whether you edit a goal, edit a penalty, open the new penalty, a new goal, or edit an event. Any of those things will disable this button and force you to click the yellow button again. Also, the box score button now is tied to this button. And it kind of was before, but not exactly. So now if I click this, it'll tell me I must successfully compute the end of game stats, the big yellow button, before I can generate the box score. So hopefully this is appreciated by the users here. So now I'm going to regenerate these end of game stats. Overwrite my goalie saves no. Check all my stuff. And I did add this confirmation feel good message at the end. If it is successful, it'll tell you that. And when you see this message, it also tells you that this button is now purple. So you're okay to either save your game stats or generate the box score. So that's the end of this logic. And now we'll show the last feature of this version would be what's in this box score. It's a little bit improved. So a few things. One is the shots on goal here, if you're playing basic stats, will use the manually entered saves for your goalie along with the goals scored and fill this out. We also added this goalie summary down here along with the 3 stars of the game. And if you had a shootout, that information would be here. Well, I got ahead of myself. There's one more feature I wanted to just talk about. I really am not going to demonstrate it here. I'll make a separate video to demonstrate it. But this new feature is something that's in the baseball spreadsheet that allows you to effectively play or have a league or project that multiple people can be involved in. And it comes into play with this import game stats button up here. And now in prior versions, when you click this, it said under construction or not yet implemented or something. I forget what it said, but it didn't work. It just showed you a message and that was it. But now what it will do is kind of talk about what it should do. And this is um, kind of the confirmation dialog box or message box asking you if you want to import stats. And in brief description, what can happen is if I were to save my league, save my BlueLynx spreadsheet, and then send or distribute a copy to somebody else who's also going to be playing some games in this project. I'll send them a copy. So we're starting with the same copy. Then I play a few games, and we have it kind of worked out ahead of time who's playing which games. And then once we've completed our games, The other person will send me a copy of their spreadsheet, and I could then open that spreadsheet, leave it in the background, and then open this one and say import game stats. And what's going to happen is it'll look for other spreadsheets open and look and see if they're the same version, if they have the same league ID, and it kind of uses that to determine if they're really using the same spreadsheet. And if they are, what it'll do is identify games that are completed in the other spreadsheet but not completed in the current spreadsheet, and it'll then ask you if you want to import the results from those games into this one, and you can say yes. That way you can bring in the stats, bring in those game results, update your standings, and then in a way you can then be ready to save the next version and let whoever else is helping you on your project give them the copy of the updated version, and then they can do the same thing. So you could do it kind of in a cooperative manner. You could do it in a league situation where each individual user is playing their home games or their own games, and but so that's a way that you can have multiple people work on the same league project in BlueLynx. And again, I'll make a separate video that describes that in more detail, but it basically works the same way as it does in the Green Fox baseball spreadsheet. So that's it for version 2.0. There's quite a few things in here, and I hope it kind of raises the level of what BlueLynx can do for your hockey projects.
Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. And like Red Green says, keep your stick on the ice.